Buying a brand new phone is often a big purchase for many of us. Even the iPhone SE will set you back by around £420, and if you're anything like me, it will end up looking far from presentable fairly quickly. Dave took one look at my phone and then gave me this to review. He said it's a lot more Erin-proof. I introduce to you the Ulefone Power Armor 14 by Hekka, retailing at just £157. Can the Ulefone provide a pleasant phone experience at a low price? Let's find out. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. Hekka sent this product to us free of charge, but we only accept it on the basis that we retain full editorial control over our video and we're free to express our personal opinions. Straight away, the packaging for the phone gives us a clue as to who the target audience is. The bright yellow and industrial look seems to be targeted towards people who have an outside job, such as a builder or a construction worker. The phone itself is big and very well protected. This isn't a case. Although Hekka claimed to be fashion pioneers, I have to say I don't think I'll be seeing the Power Armor 14 on the cover of Vogue anytime soon. Don't be fooled by the pictures on Hekka's website, as they seem to have made the phone look a lot slimmer than it is. We think it would be better to show the product just as it is, so consumers know what they're getting. And what you're getting is a large, rugged phone that is apparently built to a certified military standard. Hekka claim IP68 compliance. Basically, that means that if you drop it in a puddle or in some water deeper than a metre, it should be fine for 30 minutes and still function. You do have to make sure that the charging port and headphone jack port have their respective covers over them, otherwise it will not survive a swim. If you happen to damage these covers, then it's probably safe to say the phone will drown. IP68 also means that it should be dust, dirt and sand resistant, so it's very ideal for anybody working on a construction site. We haven't tested all the manufacturer's claims, however, I accidentally dropped it and it unironically left a small dent in my floor. The phone itself was completely fine. The display has Gorilla Glass, however, Hekka hasn't specified which version it is. It also came with a screen protector already installed, and there's another one in the box. Hekka also claimed compliance with the IP69K standard, which is really weird for a phone unless you're in the habit of jet washing your phone. We should jet wash the phone. So let's geek out on all the specs. Using this handy, totally not copied from Apple Guide, we can see a list of amazing, almost unbelievable specifications, which includes 64GB of storage, which you can expand with a micro SD. The screen is 6.5 inches with a resolution of 720 by 1600, which is 269 pixels per inch. It's a nice high-resolution display, and the colours look good. There's also a headset-free radio, which is perfect if you were born in the 1930s like Pete. I will say that the sound quality of the speakers isn't great for enjoying the radio. The audio from the phone does sound really bad. It's almost like it's being played through a tin can. It comes with all the usual sensors for things like GPS and NFC, and this phone also supports Google Pay. And we have 15 watts wireless charging for this huge battery. 10,000 milliamp hours. That's more than double the size of the battery in the iPhone 13 Pro Max. I used the Ulefone for a weekend, texting, phoning and taking photos. The battery lasted the entirety of the weekend. Or for Dave, it would last a week because no one ever calls him. It's a really impressive battery. Wired charging is handled by a USB Type-C port which supports 18 watts fast charging, and there's this really nice red Type-A to Type-C charging cable included. There's also a USB charger in the box. Ours came with an EU plug, which isn't any good for us here, but it's also available with a US plug. But of course, you can use any charger with it. There's a fingerprint scanner built into the power button which works great, and you can also log into it with face recognition, and that also seems to work fine too. And as you'll expect, the phone is running Android. This has the latest version 11 with full access to Google Play Store, and it looks pretty stock. So it seems like you're getting an awful lot for your money here, so what's the catch? It's fair to say that this isn't the fastest phone I've ever used. Inside we have the MediaTek Helio G35 chip and 4GB of RAM. A combination that is not going to set any speed records. We ran a Geekbench 5 test, and honestly, it was painful. The CPU managed a single core score of just 159 and the multi-core score of 769. This is not a powerful phone. and things don't get much better if we run the Geekbench GPU compute test. Using the Vulkan framework, the Power Armor 14 scored just 90, which seemed far too low, so we ran it again and it got 89. This is a ridiculously low score, and it seems that it's happening because the chip isn't able to complete one of the tests. To be fair, this phone has a GPU chip which is 8 years old, so it was never going to score well on a Geekbench test. In the real world, you can actually play light games. I played a little bit of Crossy Road on it, but serious mobile gamers will want to look elsewhere. And if you can stretch to the iPhone SE, the A15 Bionic scores over 11,000 in Geekbench 5 using the Metal Graphics test. Perhaps that isn't a fair comparison, because the SE is about 3 times the price when you factor in all the discounts you can get on this phone. And of course, we know Apple Silicon is ahead of the competition. But take something like the Samsung A13 or the Redmi Note 10, both available for £150, and you get a much more powerful chip inside. This lack of performance is noticeable. The user interface is noticeably laggy, and that's a shame, because in other areas, the phone offers great value. The phone may be chunky, but it doesn't feel cheap. In fact, I'd go as far to say that it feels premium. The rose gold finish on the buttons and around the camera is a really nice touch. Speaking of buttons, we have the power button with a fingerprint reader and a volume rocker on one side, and a customizable button on the other side. You can choose what you want this button to do, and you can use it as a shutter for the camera, or quick access to the flashlight, or a screenshot, or run an app. Lots of choice. There's also a SIM card and SD card tray, which you can remove without the tool if you have fingernails. On the bottom, we have a USB-C charging port with a rubber cover, and on the top, a headphone jack with the same rubber cover. Let's talk about cameras. There's an 18 megapixel front-facing selfie camera. It has face detect and autofocus, and the quality is actually okay. It would be fine for video calls. On the rear, we have a 20 megapixel main camera, which apparently has a Sony sensor, a 2 megapixel macro lens, a depth sensor, and a flash. Apparently it has AI scene recognition to help you get the most from your photos, and they're claiming underwater photography too. You can shoot 1080p video too. Here are some samples. We'll put the frame rate on the screen as there's no option to change that, and the camera doesn't tell you what it's shooting. Overall, the images and video are passable. You wouldn't expect an award-winning camera on a phone this cheap, but it's okay for a quick snap. The macro lens is a bit pointless at 2 megapixels. The images are very mushy and nothing like the sample shown on Hekka's website, which was definitely not taken with the Power Armor 14. For some strange reason, they decided to watermark every image by default. I can't imagine anybody would want that. The general look of the phone isn't my favourite. There's no colour variance and it is chunky. I don't think it would be wrong to describe it as a bit of a man's phone, but I totally get that people who work in harsh environments would probably appreciate a cheap, functional, rugged phone that doesn't need to be charged every single day. Despite our comments about the chip, if you can put up with a slightly laggy interface, everything works. It's a phone. You can make calls, you can text, you can take photos, and browse the web. We just think Hekka missed an opportunity. Put the price up a little. The build quality and the features are plenty good enough for a higher price point, and then put a better chip in it. It doesn't need to be topping the Geekbench charts. Just deliver a smoother experience that, honestly, this display and the phone deserve. Even with the negatives, the price of this phone, for all of the features it offers, represents good value. So as long as you know what you're buying, the Hekka Ulefone Power Armor 14 has a lot going for it. We've got links in the description and discount codes if you want to try one for yourself. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like or a dislike, comment, subscribe, and share the video. And like always, I'll see you again for some more geekery.